What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. No joke, no scam. If you don't press the like button in the next 13 seconds, then I will actually be forced by the court of law. Untie your shoes. Yeah, that's right. The judge laid down the ruling, and he said, you're gonna have to go around and untie everyone who doesn't press the like button shoes. I'm sorry, guys. Anyways, hope you guys are all having an absolutely incredible day. I know I am. It's your boy Scrubs here, back again with another video. This intro has been super out of order, and I know a couple of you have your OCD triggered, but you know what? Get over yourselves. Anyways, guys, today we're going to be telling a little bit of a different story, alright? Something a little bit out of the ordinary, maybe not something as funny as usual. We're going to be talking about a scary story that a friend of mine experienced, alright? This actually might be up there with one of the scariest stories you've ever heard, so I will warn you all to buckle your seatbelts and double check to make sure your feet are covered by the blankets. Otherwise, a strange man will be grabbing your toes and ripping you out of bed at 3 in the morning, and you're welcome for putting that nightmare scenario in your head. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. Yeah. So this story takes place when I was in college. This is from a girlfriend of mine, which makes the story just a little bit creepier, alright? I feel like if the story happened to a dude, it would definitely be weird, but for some reason, when you tell us with the context that there was a pretty young girl in the house, it just makes it even worse. And where we lived in Utah at the time, it got really cold in the winter, and for the most part, you really didn't expect many people to be homeless. Like, it just wasn't a very good city to be homeless in, okay? And there definitely were people, but for the most part, they kept to the downtown area, and we definitely didn't live in a major city by any means. So there wasn't really a massive homeless population, so squatting and like people breaking into houses to get warm really wasn't a thing where we were, or at least so we thought at the time, you know? And this friend of mine actually lived on the edge of town right up against the woods, and halfway through winter she started complaining about how she was hearing these weird noises coming from her attic and how it was freaking her out and making it hard for her to sleep at night. And me and all my friends kind of would make fun of her and be like, oh, watch out, the dangerous raccoon's gonna drop down from the ceiling and give you rabies. Like, no one really took her seriously, okay? And even she would kind of laugh at it. Like, she would be like, yeah, I know it's nothing. Like, obviously there's no reason to be scared, but, you know, it is kind of freaky. Like, the sounds are just weird. And so, obviously, for the most part, we thought she was just hearing things. Maybe an animal had gotten into her attic, but because she was renting, she didn't really want to, like, bother the landlord by calling and asking him to come check it out, because the noises weren't disruptive. It just kind of freaked her out, all right? Like, it wasn't like she was hearing noises and someone dragging on a body across the top of the attic being like, you're next, you're next. Nah, she just heard loud noises coming from the attic, and so she decided that she was just gonna tough it out for the winter, and that was gonna be the end of it. But about halfway through the winter, she started dating this guy, and things got pretty serious pretty quickly, and he ended up spending the night at her house a couple times. I know, scandalous, okay? For anyone out there listening to this story, I don't even know what spending the night means. I've never even looked at a girl. My mom told me to never look at a girl before marriage, so, you know, I just never have. I'm a pure, innocent boy. But whatever, he started spending the night at her house pretty often, and he would hear the noises too, and whenever we hang out, he'd be like, man, it doesn't sound like a raccoon. Like, it doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but it sounds, you know, like there's a larger animal up there. Like, I don't know, maybe there's like a hibernating bear, and all of us would laugh like, ah, yes, a hibernating bear crawled into your attic, and, you know, like, definitely is sleeping in your attic, ha ha ha. Like, we all thought it was so funny, the idea that some bear was sleeping in her attic, you know? And the boyfriend obviously didn't seem too concerned about it, which made none of us concerned. Like, if anything, it made us kind of make fun of her more. Like, the boyfriend was convinced it was an animal too, so we didn't really think anything of it. And then things started to go missing from the apartment house. I don't really know, like, how to describe it. It was a thing with an attic, okay? I guess it started with small things, you know, like a box of cereal would be gone, a box of Cheez-Its. Actually, that's not a small thing. If you take my Cheez-Its, I will actually hunt you down with the wrath of Liam Neeson and cut off your big toe. But, you know, just like food stuff, or, you know, the remote would be in a different place when they woke up, and him and her were just kind of like, oh, you know, we just must be misplacing it. Like, maybe we are just misplacing things, you know, the remote moved, we must have just fallen asleep with it in our lap and like it rolled off the couch, you know. Obviously, you're making logical assumptions because it's not the most logical thing in the world to go, I bet you there's somebody living in our attic that's coming in and taking things. Like, that's generally not the most logical go-to that a sane person does. And then things started to, like, go missing at a faster rate, okay? To the point where it was no longer just things like being missing. Like, they would wake up to a new bag of chips opened and half eaten on the couch, and, like, the TV channel on a channel that they never watch, okay? Like, it was getting to the point where they either had a carbon monoxide leak or there was, like, a ghost in the house. And I'm not even kidding. For a while, they were trying to convince all of us that there was a ghost in the house. Because, I mean, to be fair, that's a lot less scary. I would rather have a phantom spirit in my house than, you know, a strange man on Adderall. But, like, regardless, they start trying to convince us that all this stuff is going on, and none of us really believe it, okay? And we're like, yeah, sure stuff's actually moving, you know? We just think that they're forgetting things and being forgetful, and they're like, no, like, I'm telling you, you know, the other day, we bought a bag of barbecue chips, and we hadn't opened them yet, and we woke up, and they were half gone on the couch, and we were both asleep in bed. Like, I don't know what's happening or what's going on, but I feel like things are getting moved around. And I had seen on Reddit a little bit ago that some guy had a carbon monoxide leak and was forgetting what he was doing during the night. So I said, hey, you know, I saw this on Reddit. There's a whole thread about it, about how if you have a carbon monoxide leak, sometimes you'll forget what you were doing the night before, and you might do things like in your sleep. And they were like, wow, okay, maybe that's it. So they called the landlord to see if they had a carbon monoxide leak. They explain what's going on, and he's like, oh, yeah, you know, I'll come check it out. No big deal. I'm glad you guys are okay. I'm glad it didn't get any further than this. Thank you for contacting me. So the landlord comes out, and they're looking around, and he goes, you know, I'm going to go take a look in the attic. I'll be right back. And I guess when he looked in the attic, there was a bald man just sitting in the corner trying to hide. So he signs the flashlight. He's like, oh, my God. And he comes down. He says, call the police. So the girl and the guy call the cops. The cops pull up, and the landlord, and the entire time, like, they're like, what's going on? What's going on? The landlord won't answer. He said, you just need to call the police. You need to call the police. So the police come up, and the landlord says, I need to talk to you. And he walks over, and he tells them what's going on. And the police are like, are you being serious? Yes. So they go up into the attic, and sure enough, this bald guy had been living in her attic for who knows how long. Like, to be honest, nobody really knows when he broke in. We knew it was sometime during the winter, but he had a sleeping bag, a lantern, books, a bunch of food that was missing was up there. He had literally been living in this girl's attic for at least a period of 2 months, ever since she started complaining about noises, and she had no idea. Like, for anybody in the comments who's gonna be like, oh, how do you not know someone's living in your attic? When you're hearing noises and like a box of Cheez-Its go missing, tell me your first thought would be somebody lives in the attic, you know? Like, obviously that's not what you're gonna think, especially since she lived in a rural area, in a low crime area. Like, it just, no one's mind ever at any point thought somebody was going to be living in her attic. So the police obviously arrest the guy for trespassing, but that's really all they can arrest him for. Like, not even a serious crime. I mean, breaking and entering, but like there was a way into the attic, so he didn't really break in. So they nail him for trespassing, right? But keep in mind, this guy had been living above this like 18-year-old girl for the past few months, just watching everything she did. He had to have had a way to see her because, you know, obviously he had to know when she was asleep so he can go get food and all that stuff. And sure enough, they found little holes that had been drilled into the bedroom and like the bathroom and places where he could look down from the attic and like see what she was doing in the house. And that's the weirdest thing to me. Like, don't get me wrong, someone living in your house is creepy, but knowing that there was somebody watching every move you made and everything you did for the last few months has to be the most terrifying feeling of all time. I don't even do anything. Like, the guy would basically watch me go to a party once a week and then make YouTube videos. But if someone was watching me do it without me knowing, that's next level scary. So this girl did have another year on her lease, but the landlord immediately let her break it because he just didn't want to deal with the bad publicity of this. And she was like, I'm done. I want to move. Like, I don't want to live in this state anymore. I'm terrified. And she was just saying how lucky she is that her boyfriend had basically lived with her at that point, because who knows? He was getting more brave, obviously, just kind of moving and taking stuff. Who knows what would have happened if she wouldn't have had like a guy there? Like, I don't know. Obviously, she was super freaked out, and none of us really blamed her. She ended up getting excused from a couple finals, which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, going to a professor and saying there was a strange man living in my attic watching every move I made for the past few months and I had no idea, so I'd really appreciate a little bit more to study, is probably a pretty good excuse. But yeah, the guy actually didn't end up getting charged with like any super serious crimes that I remember, because like I said, he was just living in her attic. Like, he didn't really have to break in. They just got him for trespassing, which is so mind-boggling to me. Like, this guy was creeping on this girl, and the most you could hit him for trespassing. Sometimes the law and legal system just makes no sense. And obviously she was super freaked out. She ended up transferring schools just because, like, just being in that town and area freaked her out and just made her like uncomfortable. And I mean, same. I mean, if somebody was stalking me, I think I would definitely have to move. I couldn't just keep going. So yeah, moral of the story is, if you're cold in the middle of winter, don't crawl into people's attics and stalk them, because for the most part, it's going to end up with you getting hit for trespassing and being an absolute creeper, and no one's going to like you after that, all right? Nobody wants to hang out with the guy who stalks somebody and, you know, hid in their attic. Like, that's not a very popular thing to do. But on that note, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did. Be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of the video, and if you're new, subscribe, of course. Today's notification shout out goes to Noah FTZ3. Big shout out to you for having on notifications, man. If you want a notification shout out, all you gotta do is turn on notifications, send a screenshot to me over at my Instagram at Scrubby, and I shout somebody out every day. But on that note, don't get anyone pregnant, and if you do, make sure they're not sneaking around, hiding in your attic, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. I'm out. Peace.